What's up, guys? Alex here, licensed CPM Realtor, and over here with.
Meek Goddard.
So, as far as regular agents go, you're actually gonna be one of the few agents that I would actually had a conversation with when I started.
Okay.
And from the time I met you, and again, this was new, so this was over the summer.
Right.
And to the point now, I'm seeing a huge improvement in terms of how your business is doing.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I did want to come sit with you because I love sitting down with agents and business owners, just people, right? And I like looking at how their journey went. And as far as I can tell, there was like a real jump now for you. And so I want to get it before it's still like red hot, like
Okay.
fresh in your head.
Good.
And I'm thinking there's gonna be a little more in the way of new information because it's easy for us to be like, oh man, it was hard 3 years ago. It was hard for me last year. I barely pay bills, and then it's easy to gloss over details. So again, while it's still fresh in your head, I wanted to hit you up.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, so I guess we'll go to like that origin story portion. Where were you before this real estate thing?
All right, so before I got into real estate, I worked full-time for companies. I worked in the photography industry for 20 years in Manhattan. I was running like large-scale fashion studios.
Wow.
I loved it. And then it started like becoming less and less of a thing. People didn't need to rent the space anymore. And I started really getting sick of doing that. And on top of that, the business itself was becoming like less and less. And the company I worked for, the first one that I worked for years, they sold to another company. And I was put out of a job, but I found another job. And then shortly after that, that went away. And then I was scrambling, and then I was just not, being able to land anything. And around that same time, my wife was pregnant. She had a baby. And one of us had to become the person that would be there to take care of that baby. So since she had a good job, she's been with her company for 20 years. She has the health insurance, the whole 9 yards. One of us has to do something different, and that person became me. And I knew somebody that had gotten into this business, maybe 5 years before that. Mm-hmm. And I reached out to her, and she told me what I needed to do. And I said, okay, I'm going to give this thing a shot.
Hey, and so when was that?
That was like 2019. Okay, so this is like a few years I was still kind of scrambling, going to like job to job, and I was sick of that grind. Like I was sick of interviewing, I was sick of being rejected, I was sick of getting a job that I didn't really want, but I needed the money, that kind of thing.
And so you picked the industry where you're always going to get rejected.
Yeah.
And you're always gonna
Well, you know what it was? It's because like with this one, look, I got into it because of those reasons. But like I also wanted to be like my own boss. Like I wanted to be able to say, okay, I'm gonna hire me. Mm-hmm. It's gonna be me, and I'm gonna be my own employee. And like, let me see if I would keep me. Like
I like that.
Yeah,
that's actually.
That's like where it gets like tricky at the beginning, right? Mm-hmm. So, yeah. So that was 2019.
So as you say that, I'm actually getting chills because that is kind of where I'm at. I came from corporate, and at one point we're making six figures, and I can't help but think, what am I doing? What is this for? Right? I come home, I'm exhausted, I'm beat, I'm not even happy. So I jumped into this real estate thing,
right?
And it just so happened it was around time that we were having our first kid, and now thankfully, babe, I love you, but she has consistent pay, and I'm sitting here, I'm like, I need to get bills paid, man.
Right.
Like I need to bring something to this table.
Yeah.
And so I find myself at that crosswalk. So I think this one's gonna hit a little close to home.
Right.
Damn. So. Tell me about those first couple of years. So you decided, you're like, you know what, I'm done with all this other stuff. Let me try to be my own boss. And you decided real estate. Of all things, real estate.
Right. Well, I knew from speaking to the person that was already in real estate that like, what I needed to do. She told me like, really what the day-to-day looked like. Mm-hmm. And I thought that I could do that. So I went ahead, I signed up for the classes. I actually finished everything in 2.5 weeks.
Dang.
So I took all the classes, took the state exam and the class exam in 2.5 weeks.
Dang, you were not playing. Holy crap.
Yeah, so I got right through that, got my license. This is July 2019. I signed up with a brokerage. We'll leave that unnamed for now. And I mean, listen, look, there's a lot of brokerages out there. You know, whoever you go to is going to be it's going to be what you put into it, right? Which I had to kind of learn, right? Like, no one's handing you anything, really. You know, like, you need to learn this business. And so, you know, the thing is, the first thing you learn is that everything you learned at school, like, really doesn't apply to what you do here.
Yep.
And so, you know, that's like, getting your feet under you is tough. And, like, you know, I'm going to just kind of like go over the whole 3 years, because like the first really 2 years I didn't apply myself. The first year I tried, I really did. And like, you know, I tried to do rentals. I tried to work just strictly with buyers. You know, getting listings is really hard when you have nothing to show for it. Then that was shortly after that, like, COVID hit, you know, and then I also moved and then COVID hit. And so like, then I was at home with my daughter because she was going to school, first grade, and she didn't go to school for like a year, and that's like reason I'm here, right? So, but that, unfortunately, that just eats up all of your time. So that's year 2 completely gone, you know. But like, the thing is, you always have that license, right? So like, how did I survive during that time? Well, because I saved a lot of money during the time when I had a full-time job. I had to dip into my retirement fund, unfortunately, which I still have some of, but I don't want to dip into it anymore. And, you know, you have to have a wife or a husband that's going to be able to, you know, understand that this is going to take some time. You have to have support. You have to have some money put away, because if you don't, it's going to be real tough. I mean, unless you get lucky right out of the gates, you know, you're gonna have to float yourself. Like, I mean, I was told, you know, by the person that I spoke to prior to taking this, that, you know, the same thing. They said, look, you're gonna have to have some money put away, because you're not gonna make money right away. And even if you were to get lucky and get a listing right out of the gates, like, you're still like 3 months removed at best from that money. So you're gonna have to put a little survival kit, you know, away. So I got into it then. So I moved to a different brokerage, still not this one. I feel like I made a mistake. Keller Williams is definitely when like my career took off. So, you know, I came here, and you know, it was middle of COVID. I signed in, and like, you know, it was all about classes. I was on them on Zoom, but it wasn't really. I got to a point after about 2 years and a little extra time that I was also ready to jump out of this.
Yeah, I like it.
Right. So I was really like, you know, I didn't want to see my retirement fund go down anymore. You know, my wife is like, when is this thing gonna take off? Like, there's only so much patience people have, and understandably, like, I mean, you know, I can't blame her. So I said, I got to make this happen, or I got to do something. And like, I chose, I'm going to go do something. So like, I started like sending out resumes again. I started interviewing, and like, all those memories of all that stuff I hated about sending out resumes and interviewing, like, immediately crept back in. Right? And it was at that point I said, you know what am I doing? I mean, I even called my sponsor, the person that sponsors me here at KW, and I told her, I was like, I'm getting out. Sorry to tell you, but I'm leaving. And she was like, no, don't do that. You know, like, you haven't tried everything yet. You know, have you tried this? Have you tried that? You know, trying to keep me like, you know, focused on what I was doing. But I was really ready to go, you know. And then like, I even got like job offers, and I was looking at the money, and I was thinking to myself, well, listen, if I put together 2 deals, I'll make more in those 2 deals than I would if I took this job and worked for an entire year and I was miserable. So that got me back into it. And then I said, okay, well, now I'm going to try to make this really work. And I started really like applying myself. And that's like kind of when you saw me start coming in here. You know, I got a listing. I mean, it wasn't my first listing, but it was the first listing that I took and said, okay, what can I do with this listing besides sell it for my seller, obviously, to make the next listing happen. And so I did that work, and the next listing happened. And so now I sold that listing, and I'm working that listing to make that next listing happen, on top of doing a bunch of other things that I have to do. But of course, once you start making a little money, now you're paying those bills and stuff, so it makes it a little easier. So yeah, getting that first paycheck from this is definitely helps that. But I was on the cusp, man. I was out. I was out. I was I almost was like, bye.
And there's a lot to unpack there, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm like there's a lot of overlap between you and me here. Like, for instance, my wife is a teacher, so she's going to work, but because we don't have our daycare situation from Monday to Friday, 2 days. It's Father Sunday. Now, in my head, I'm thinking, put him down for a nap. Maybe I'll get some calls in. There's none of that.
Right.
He's up, and maybe I might squeak in just enough to get a little work done when he's napping. But I mean, before I know it, it's already 4 o'clock. My wife's home, and I'm like, I gotta go get bills paid, so I need to go run over to another job, right? Because I gotta pay bills somehow.
Right.
And it's hurtful, right? Like in terms of like, damn it, like, just need one deal to go through, and like we could float for another month or two,
Right.
and I could justify this thing that I'm doing,
Right.
And then God forbid, a deal goes straight through, like you're at the finish line, you're like, we're not doing this anymore.
Right.
They're a little, like, it hurts, right?
Right.
But the other side of it is, as I was talking to Natalia in the office,
Mm-hmm.
she's heading the real estate moms group,
Mm-hmm.
and every time she speaks about, like, we try to time block, we try to get this stuff done, and like, I feel that pain, period.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other side, as you go through, like this journey that you went on, I still vividly remember when I first met you. I was like, that meme of like, baby, who hurt you, right? Because there was a sense of defeat, right? If I'm being honest,
Mm-hmm.
right? But oddly enough, for me, it was intriguing because it wasn't defeat in like, all right, I'm done, right? Like, screw this. I'm like, I'm done with this. It was kind of like things are gonna hurt, brother. Like, it was kind of like that brotherly advice of like, look, I tried this, and this, and it's gonna, like, because if memory serves, you were talking about what I was doing at that time,
Right.
And he's like, dude, you're in for a world of hurt,
Right.
And there was a little bit of like, I can't escape. There's like a weird fire.
Right.
So there was like a no quit in your eye.
Right.
So I'm like, huh, like, I wonder what that was, right? But then as I saw you in like another class, and then recently we had a thing, like a training thing. And I just see that fire. I'm like, something's up. And sure enough, I see some things pop up with your name on it. I'm like, yo, this man's killing it.
Well, I wouldn't call it killing it, but the thing is that like you have to have that's the mind frame you have to go into. Like that fire has to be there. Like even coming here to this, like you don't see me in the office as much anymore, right? Because I realize that like I'm better. The work, the businesses out there. So even coming here, like I went on a few blocks that I don't usually go down because I have like door hangers that I'm putting out right now, and I just hit all those door hangers, and when I leave here on the way home, I'm gonna take another way home, and I'm gonna put those door hangers out because I constantly have to be doing something, right? Like, because what I realized is that everybody is a potential client. Right? Anyone that you run into in the street, see at a store, someone that's helping you, someone that you just got to talking to, they're all potentially about to sell their house or know somebody that is about to sell their house, or all potentially know somebody that's looking to buy a house. So like that's the drive now, is because like it's kind of exciting if you have that mind frame. And so like once I got that first listing, I said, well, what can I do here? So I circle prospected that neighborhood. That's how I got that second listing, right? I just got in there. It was an expired. I saw it. I said, let me see what I can do about this. So now I just walk around. I wake up every day and I just walk, like I get ready, and I have a busy morning. Like I have to get my daughter ready for school. I have to get her lunch ready. Like I personally like to work out before I do all that stuff. So like, but by the time 9 o'clock rolls around, I've already been up 4 hours and I've already done a bunch of things. So like now it's ready to go out to do that. So from 9 to 12, like I'll be out doing that. If the weather's not doing, like you have to have like a few things you could be working on all the time, because sitting around doing nothing is minutes clicking by that you're not doing something to get that next listing, to get that next buyer. And so You know, I know when I get something, I know when I get a buyer, I'll work hard for them and I'll make sure that they find the house. I know if I get a listing, I'll work hard for that seller and I'll make sure that they get a good buyer for that house and the best price that I can get for them. So I know the job itself I can do. The part going into it, finding the work, that's the hard part. And you got to wake up every day and you got to do the same thing over and over again because something's going to stick at some point. And that fire has to be there. So like I just really live like in the day, right? Because what I don't want to do is go to sleep at night, put my head down on the pillow and say, I should have done this, I should have done that. Maybe when I saw that person that I helped with groceries at the grocery store, I should have told them who I was or what I did. That's a missed opportunity. Like tomorrow I'm gonna have to do that better. And the next day I wake up and I know that I've made that mistake the day before and I try to correct that. And that's it's exciting every day. So the fire that you're talking about, like that's just it, you have to have that in you to do this. Like you have to love what you do. I love like doing my own marketing. Like I said, I came from like, you know, the photography industry and I worked around like marketing all the time. That's what we did. I mean, everything we shot for was marketing. So constantly trying to improve that, putting together mailer pieces. Like I don't actually mail them out, I actually hand deliver them because why shouldn't I? You know, but for what am I going to do for 3 hours if a mailman's delivering my mail? Like I'd rather just go do it myself. That way I can see for sale by owners. You know, I can, oh, this house is for sale. Let me see where they are in their contract and start planning on those type of things. So that's the way I do it. You know, some people like to sit on the phone. They like to do it that way. Some people do well on that. I used to like make phone calls and try to get business all the time, totally burnt out from it. You know, I know how to do it. I used to sit in classes where they would make you stand in front of the room in front of all the people in your classes and make calls in front of them on speakerphone to see like where you went wrong in that call. I know how to call people. I don't like it. So I'm not doing it.
And that's the thing, right? Like I get it. Like more times that gold standard is you got to cold call. You got to cold call. In the state of New York, can't cold call, but you can call, right? You should definitely make your calls. However, my thing will always be, whether it's real estate, whether it's maybe your hair salon, I don't care. Whatever your business is, lean into the things that work and that you can master and that you will excel at, right? And psychologically speaking, they say that phone call is effective, right? However, face-to-face, that's where it's at, right? And so I think you went straight for the arguably the hardest thing, right? If you really think about it, like God forbid, for most people, oh my God, I'm gonna hang these doors, right? And then what happens if someone opens the door? Hey, what the hell are you doing?
No, that happens.
Right.
Yeah.
And most people like that's what they want to avoid. In their head, that is like the line that's coming to eat them.
Right.
Right. And you got to that point of like, good. I hope they open that door, and now we could talk.
Yeah, and sometimes someone does open the door, and like sometimes they're like not happy to see you, and then sometimes people are like, hey, understanding about seeing you. Like not everyone, you can't just expect everyone to want to talk to you, you know. But you just have to brush that off, you know, because the thing is like, you know, put yourself in those people's shoes. Like if you just don't feel like talking to somebody and then all of a sudden someone starts talking to you, like you don't feel like talking to them.
It's like, hey man, I didn't call you over my house. Like, what are you doing here? I get it, right?
Yeah, I didn't call you. I didn't ask you to come over here. So like, I get it. And you know what? Like some people are like nasty about it. And you know what? You just say, listen, I'm just trying to make a living. Right. That's all I'm doing.
Right.
And you know, I have to give a shout out to Bold because like they really also like taking that class really put me in that mind frame. Because like they added to that fuel of the fire and you know they said, listen, every time you are scared to pick up that phone and make that phone call or scared to knock on that door and talk to that person, like you're turning your back on your family, right? Because like the thing is like that's who you know, you have to know what you're doing this for. And you know, I have a 7-year-old, I have a wife, like at some point in the future she's gonna want to retire, and like for the next X amount of years, I want to kill it in this industry so we can retire comfortably with what she has and what I make. So that's the fire. And like, so I guess the turning point though was when I was out trying to get those jobs again and then sitting in front of like, you know, a hiring manager that was like half my age and rejecting me and I hated it, man. And like, I was like, I'm not going back to this. This I know how to do. I just have to go out and do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I do actually want to unpack that, right? Okay. Because for me, where I really noticed like there was that, like I said, that real solid like pivot point where I saw like, holy crap, this dude is in it, right? Was Bold, right? And I was like, because when they made an announcement of like, oh, these are the people who signed up for Bold. I'm like, oh, he's it. That's a familiar face. I'm like, okay, let's see how this is going.
Right.
And then by the end of the month, I'm sitting there, I'm like, this man, he's got a smile on his face, his shoulders like up, and he's like, something good happened, something really good happened.
Yeah.
And ever since then, I'm seeing like, granted, look, maybe you're not making net $1 million a year or a month and whatever, right? But like as I keep seeing your face pop up, there are significant and consistent things coming down your pipeline, right? And so part of it is going to be mindset, right? So the question is, when you first started out, right? Obviously, it's not that it wasn't for a lack of trying, right? I mean, I would assume that you're not just you didn't sit there in your corner of your house watching TV, Netflix, wondering why people aren't blowing up your phone. Right? I'm sure you did stuff,
Right.
right? But what do you happen to remember if there was a change in like the mindset from the early onset, and is there like a catalyst that kind of drove, well, aside from the actual job portion, right? Like when you after that job search bit,
Right.
was there like a set catalyst where you're like, no, like, you know what, like, I gotta drive this, like one way or another, I'm gonna get this done, period.
Well, yeah, I mean that had a lot to do with it. I mean, I've said, that this is like my third brokerage that I'm with. Okay, like I don't want to like negatively say anything about any other brokerage. They were all fine. But it does matter to a point where like you feel that support, and I felt like when I came to Keller Williams, then I started getting that support. I mean, you can ask any of these people around here, like, there's some really like, seasoned agents in this place, people that are doing very well, and they'll pick up the phone and if you have a question for them, they'll be happy to help you out with that. And they'll go out of their way sometimes, like, people have done things for me like over these last few months that like it was beyond what I even had asked. They were just ready to help you. I mean, at the end of the day, they're your competition, right? So, but they're happy for you, and like so you're in an environment. Honestly, like I don't come in here that much anymore because I'm out there trying to get business. But the thing is, like sometimes I need to come in here because I want to see some of these people. Because I feel like once I do like my rounds and I say hi to people and they say how you doing, and I get like energized again, and I could go back out and feel that energy from those people. Bold, like I like to sit there and be like, hey, I just all of a sudden woke up and realized this. Like, no, they just put you into the mind frame of what you need to do to make it in this business, and that's just the mind frame. Like, obviously you need to get listings and buyers and all that stuff, but the mind frame. It's not like like you were talking about your baby and like how you run out of time, right? Like I've been there, right? And that was like and that was my excuse as to why things weren't going the way I wanted it to do, So I had to look deeper inside myself and say, okay, fine, yes, I am busy. I am busy with this baby. Like at 2:00 every day, I pick up my daughter. But there's time, and that time that you don't have all those things going on is time that you should be putting towards this. And then that means that maybe you need to stay up later at night and do some things. And so it's people say, oh, you have this flexible job. It's like, yes, you have a flexible job, but like if you let people know you have a flexible job before they'll flex you right out of your business. Yep. So like you have flexibility, but you have to kind of like learn how to use that. And what Bold did was say like this is the mind frame you need to be in. This is how many people you need to talk to per week. I mean, you don't have to stick to that necessarily, that exact formula, but like as long as you're out there trying to do that, then you should have some success. And like, I've been putting thousands of these things out on people's doors. Have I gotten a call yet? No, but am I like discouraged and stop doing it? Not at all.
Shouldn't be.
Right? So, because I mean, the reason that I do that particular marketing thing, and I know this is like going off topic, but the reason I do that is because I would get in the car and I would drive, and 2 blocks away from my house would be a new sign on someone's lawn with somebody else's name on it.
Oh, that kills me.
It killed me. And I said, you know what? Like, I need to at least be somebody that they might consider calling when it's time to sell their house. I mean, just because I put a thing on doesn't mean the next day I'm going to get a phone call of like, hopefully that happens. Of course. I'm always happy to do that. But that's probably not going to happen. But like maybe they took my thing and said, okay, you know what? Let's put this in this pile. And then in a month or two, I get a phone call, and it's because I put that piece of thing on. Because I don't want to see those signs go up without me at least have tried to do something about not seeing that sign go up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I hear that 1,000%. I mean, look, there's there's always gonna be that question of what, like, especially with new agents, what brokerage should I join? I'm like, pick the one that makes sense for you, period, right? And, like even within the brand, right, there are different, like not all brokerages are created equal, even within the same umbrella, right? And so me personally also, the reason why I came and sat here was, when I interviewed for brokerages, I could have went to boutique, I could have went to, one of these other big brand names, or even, the boutique, like the fancy schmancy ones, and I sat there with Gloria, and she was just like, honestly, I'm just gonna I'm gonna cut the bull crap, this is what it is, but understand, we have you, like we have your back, we have you, through and through, but I'm gonna keep it real with you, I'm not hand-holding you all the way through, like you need to do stuff yourself, period. I was like, well, okay. This is much better than the, we're the number one in the market, keep it real, but keep it genuine, right? And so I there's that aspect of, could you have done something else with your time rather than walking for hours, hanging door hangers? Yes. However, I think there's that thing with business mindset, right? Again, do the things that make sense to you and your business, and I'm assuming you track your metrics now. You track numbers. You track maybe not every tiny minutia, detail that happens, but you could tell, like, okay, my business is picking up, so something that I'm doing is correct. Mm-hmm. As opposed to where I think a lot of people get stuck is they get creative procrastination, mm-hmm. where they think they're busy, they're doing all the research, and nothing that is actually financially like driving your business is getting done. Right. And so I think that's one of the adjustments, especially as I was watching my son. Like that's, for me, that rang loud and clear. Because for me, I'm thinking, once Teddy's going to sleep, I want to go do some quick research to see how I could fix my marketing. I was like, wait, after a couple weeks of this, I'm like, what am I doing? Mm-hmm. That time is precious for me, right? So for me, I was like, wait, no. I have this backwards. What can I do in that 30 minutes to an hour that will potentially give me business, like immediately? Even if I crash and burn those 30 minutes to an hour, for me, it was better for me to take a shot and get like spat at than research and theory craft, right? And so for me, there's that value, right? I stumbled on it, I got lucky. But most people will think that paying for something like Bold makes no sense, right? Their logic, and I'm sure you've heard it, why am I going to pay money? I'll pay for it once I make money. And I get, to a certain extent, if you really can't pay bills, that's a thing, right? But what is your mindset now in terms of investing money to make more?
Right. So, I mean, I'm careful about it. Like, well, first of all, I do track my metrics. Unfortunately, it's not that hard right now. Okay. I think like that as long as you're doing something to drive business, then you're not ever doing anything wrong, right? So like that's what you kind of how you have to think about it, right? Because it's time to do marketing like on weekends. There's time to do marketing at night. I mean, you're just putting together like a mailer piece or something like that. Social media really isn't that hard to do. But there's things you could do for free. I mean, like, if you go into like say Command and make one of those flyers, it's really just costing you some ink and some paper. So like you don't have to go crazy. I constantly get phone calls from people that are like trying to sell leads and stuff like that. And I did that for a while, and that's really expensive. And if you make money on it, then it pays itself back. But if for some reason you don't, then you don't. So I stopped doing those like big ticket items like that. What I do is I create my own marketing pieces. I pay to get them printed, and I just do it like that. You don't have to spend like a ton of money on it. Bold, I did because one of the things that they offer you when you do Bold is they say if you get a listing or go into a contract while you're at Bold, we will pay you back for being at Bold. So like what better like thing to drive you during that 10-week period than to possibly not even have to pay for it.
Of course.
Right? So like that's great. So like what I can say, all right, like I don't really want to spend this chunk of change right now, but I don't necessarily have to spend it if I do the work that they tell you to do at Bold, which should net you something that you at least get half or all of your money back. So like it's a pretty easy thing to just do. But I don't spend a ton of money right now on marketing. I kind of just do it myself. Like at this particular time in my career, I have the time to go distribute all this stuff. For me to print that out, like those door hangers, I got 1,000 of them for like $279. I mean, come on. I hit 1,000 houses with that. That's not a lot of money. So, you're gonna have to spend some money, but it doesn't have to be like a gigantic amount of money either. But you're gonna have to do something. Like you got to get out there. At the very least, get some business cards.
Of course, I think that's an important aspect, right? Because there's another factor, right? People want the latest and greatest and best and whatever, and if it's not the latest and greatest and best, they don't want to do it, right? And for me, I find myself, a lot of these conversations tend to be more reminders to myself, if I'm being honest, right? And there's that aspect of, do you really need the latest and greatest and best, right? Or is your business at a point where you should just stick with what makes sense, right? So for me, at one point in my idiot brain, I'm thinking, I need a $10,000 marketing budget. I need like ISAs. I need all these like people calling for me, virtual assistants. I'm like, how am I going to get to that? I need to hurry up and close deals. Why don't I just start with where I'm at now? What money do I have? I have some reserves for my mortgage and my bills. Okay, crap. So I'm not spending that. So then what am I going to do, right? I could have just as easily said, you know what, screw it, I'm done, right? Or I could have just been not such a dum-dum and said, okay, look, budget is limited. What can I do? Social media is free. Well, a lot of social media is free. If you pay for ads, that's one thing, but it's not thousands of dollars on the upfront. Each of my ad spends is probably anywhere from that $30 to $50 range per 5 to 10 day cycle, right? And then mailers, right? $2,000 for $250, you said? That's not you're not breaking the bank with that, but you're hitting a lot of doors. So for me, I get it. There are some crazy monsters in this office who are just destroying numbers, and they scaled with their business, and I think that's where people forget. You scale.
Yeah,
right?
you scale. So obviously, this next house closes, I'm going to have some money in the budget. So maybe I have a little bit of money, but I can maybe do something that I wasn't going to do up until that close. So of course it makes a difference, right? But the thing is if you're just getting into it, if you're at the point where you're about to give up, and your budget is nothing, there's things like you just said, social media, that doesn't cost you anything. I mean, everybody has a phone. You can make yourself a video, you could take pictures, you can, the company provides you with stuff you could put up on social media all day if you want. So it doesn't cost money to pick up the phone and call people. It doesn't cost money to go and stand in front of a supermarket and give out flyers about yourself. So you just have to kind of live within your budget, but the thing is sometimes that budget doesn't have to be that big, and the things you're doing are going to make a difference. So, I like I said, man, what drove me to start really feeling I need to do this and I can, was basically just almost giving up. That's where it was. That was a turning point.
And this might quite easily be my favorite episode.
Okay.
Honestly speaking, if I'm being honest, this might be my favorite episode. Oh dear, damn. Okay. Yeah, I mean, look, there's so many different ways we could pull this, right? But at the end of the day, for me, it cycles back to the difference between those who make it and who don't, right? Those who don't, and it's not for me. I don't think I want to separate this from judgment, right? Because this doesn't, just because you quit or you give up doesn't necessarily make you a bad person, right? Let's just clear that away. But a lot of people do, and in this way, personally, it's just the difference for me generally becomes those who will make excuses, right, and really buy into those excuses of why you can't, right? Whether it is a valid point or just a nonsense narrative, that's beside the point. There's those who have these excuses and lean into that and okay, well, I guess I couldn't do it, right? And there's screw that. What else? No. One way or another, this is gonna get done. I don't care if I have to walk till my knees bleed. I'm doing this, right? And you seem to be leaning to that ladder, right? And so I do expect much bigger and better things, right? For this year, I'm excited for you, right?
Thanks.
And I know the market is absolutely insane. Me personally, I expect, if the drop off for agents is supposed to be that 85% mark, me personally, I expect this market for that drop off rate to be higher. And I think it's going to be because people like you are going to gobble up more of this market, right? And you should, right? You hustle for it, you work for it, you grind for that. With that said, do you have any immediate plans or adjustments to your 1 year, 3 year, 5 year plan?
This year, I would say my 1 year plan is right. I have a set number that I want to make. But like if it ends up being that I just get out of this year without having to dip into any reserve funds that I have, and I just make it on this, on making a living in this particular industry, then that would be good for me. Like I'd feel good about that. But my 5-year, 10-year plan is, like I said, my wife is at some point going to want to retire. She's worked hard her whole life, and I want to support her in that, and whatever I can contribute to that. So it's going to have to go up, right? Like it can't just be like, oh, I just made it through the year, I paid my mortgage, I paid my bills, and everything is cool. Like I didn't have to go into like a reserve fund for that, but it has to build. So like, I don't have like a set number for those years, but I know that every year after year, I'm going to have to go up. So I will put a number on what I want to make the following year. I mean, what I like is getting those, things on Facebook from the company where it says, congratulations to such and such for capping. Like I want to cap.
Yep.
Like that's the goal.
Oh yeah.
Like right now, that's the goal for the year. Like I want to get to that point where like my little thing will be up on Facebook saying I capped.
Yeah.
I'll be so proud of that.
Oh yeah.
So I have a number in mind, but the thing is like if I get through the year and I don't have to dip into it, like I said, but like if I can get that little Facebook mention that I capped, that would be even greater. So like I'm not bogged down in a number, but I know that like this has to be how I make a living, and I want pocket change on top of that.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna add a little segment here. So typically, a lot of times, especially on the earlier onsets, it's very common for people. You're higher. On this food chain, I'd still put you higher than me, right? I'm still like guppy level, but I do notice that time in this space typically your happiness dreams or goals tend to be more of avoidance of pain type situation. So if I ask some other people, they're like, oh, I just want to, right? I just want to not have to like look at my credit card bills and cry. I just want to not worry about how I'm going to pay for groceries, these type of things, right? So on the flip side, if I were to ask you, give me one thing, whether it be through business, personal, whatever, by the end of this year, at the very latest, next, it's like a dream goal that you want, and that is absent of removing pain, something that is like bringing joy.
Well, I would like to I don't even want to use the word just because I don't like that word. I feel like you're saying, well, I'm apologizing for like not making that or something. It's like an apologetic, or like what I want is to live comfortably. I want to be able to pay my bills. I want to be able to provide my wife with the things that like she has had to sacrifice for me doing this, which means like family vacations, things of that nature. I want to live not thinking about that and thinking towards I guess retirement, right? Because like I'm at that age now where like you have to start thinking into that future. So what I want is to put into this what I need to then be able to retire and live comfortably and not have to deal with any of it anymore. Yeah.
And now from that segment, I'm going to drill down. So you mentioned vacation. Pick a vacation spot. Where are you going to be? Where are we flying either this year or next?
Hawaii.
Hawaii?
Yeah.
Why?
I've never been there. My daughter really wants to go there. My wife has been there a couple of times. She loved it, and so because I've never been there.
Okay, perfect. So, any particular island in general, or is it general, or it has to be a specific spot?
No, I mean when it comes to vacation planning, I completely leave that up to my wife, and I just go wherever she puts me. But she always picks a great spot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I like it. So, are we going business class or coach?
I don't want to fly coach. I'm going business class.
Love it. So business class. We're going to Hawaii. What are we doing? We doing a resort? We doing a hotel? We doing an Airbnb? What are we doing?
Airbnb.
I like the way you work, my man. Okay, so business class, Hawaii, Airbnb. So what are we thinking? House with a pool in it, or just like a beach view? What are we doing?
Well, beach view would be great. Pool would be great too. I have a 7-year-old, but I don't. When you're in Hawaii, I don't think you're gonna be sitting at home much anyway.
I agree. 100%. I agree. Okay. All right. And then we're gonna add just a little extra.
Okay.
A little bit extra, right? Just that little cherry on top. Okay. Give me one excursion that you would go on while you're in Hawaii. No. Actually, there's a lot to do in Hawaii. Give me two. Give me 2. Whether it's just you and your wife, just you, the whole family, I don't care.
I mean, I would love to go on like a helicopter ride, but I'm a little scared of helicopters, so I don't know if I would do that.
So you're doing it. No, you're doing it. You're doing it.
And I don't know, just one of those like nice like sailboats that goes like along the coast and just enjoy the mountain views and everything like that. You know, that's kind of where I want to be. But and I'll get there, man. You know, in the next 2 years, I plan on getting there. And I am gonna fly business class. I'm 6'2", man. Coaches doesn't fit me. So like
those knees hurt.
Like I want, you know, one of the things that like, you know, just to get back to like what drives you, is that like I'm a person that likes nicer things, right? And if I want to be able to afford doing that, then I have to work hard to get that. I can't just expect to have those nice things without working for them. So knowing that about myself, that also drives me.
I like it.
Yeah.
I do. Ooh. I get this creeping suspicion that I'm gonna start pestering you for like a follow-up.
Anytime, because you know what, like the things that I know what to do, and I'm also like happy to share that information with anyone in the office. That's how we got to kind of know each other, because you had that listing. You said, listen, you know, I have this listing. I said, get out there and 50 houses in each direction. Make sure that those people know you have that listing. Right? It's called circle prospecting. It's how I got my second listing. It's what I'm still doing with that second listing to get my third listing.
Right,
Yeah.
and it works, right?
Yeah.
Look, proof is in that pudding.
Yeah.
You know, but just to save some for later, we'll snip it here. However, because you should absolutely get all the clients that are willing to work with you, period, right? We're gonna try to get that reach a little further.
Right.
So if anyone were trying to get, like, to contact you, reach out to you, where can they find you?
They can find me at Keller Williams. You know, I don't want to go through my whole name, but you could just call me, 917-662-6611, and I'll be happy to help you, buyers, sellers. I'll work hard for you. I will make sure that we get you a house if you're buying one, or we'll make sure we'll sell your house if you're selling one.
Love it. I like it. So with that said, I thank you for your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It was great. Enjoyed myself.
Dude, it was, I think this is where I know, like, it's part of the enjoyment here, because I generally find enjoyment, you know, getting to know all y'all and knowing their stories and your backgrounds. I'm going to strongly recommend you jump on one of these.
Yeah. Maybe I will. Maybe you just fed me another idea of something I should be doing, because it's like I didn't think I would be comfortable in front of a camera. Turns out I'm okay.
You're a natural.
Yeah.
You really are a natural.
All right, perfect.
Right. So with that said, thank y'all for joining me.
Thank you.
I'll catch you guys on the next one. See?
Thanks, man.
Thank you.